Hello, everyone. It's Wednesday. That means we are now going to have another edition of That's Cool. And let's go ahead and take a look at what I'm going to talk about this week. And that is, first of all, Hurricane Durian. And we are going to show you a couple of images now. NASA is doing a great job of watching this storm from space. And actually, the International Space Station is taking pictures of the storm too, and you can see that the International Space Station took this great picture that you can almost see 3D wise what the structure of the eye of the hurricane. And you know, the eye of the hurricane is a place where the winds calm down and you do get some sunshine. Now this has almost a pinwheeled eye with it when they took that picture, but that is the calmest part of the storm. The strongest part of the storm isn't the entire storm itself. It is right in the eye wall, right outside of that eye. That's where the strongest winds will be. And to the right of the eye, where the storm is moving, that's where the strongest part of the storm would be. Let's go ahead and take a look. Another image, and this is from NASA. They have this Arius Satellite that can make a guesstimate of where there is flooding going on with the storm system. And if you notice on that image, and there's a blow up of it too, everywhere you see that light blue, that's where the Bahamas was getting flooding. And the reason for the flooding, not as much as the rainfall, albeit they had 2 feet of rain. It's also because left over from the storm surge, where the storm surge is very much like if you took your arm across a bathtub and raked it across the top of the bathtub and it shoved the water one way, it would spill out. Well, that's the case when you're talking about the storm surge. And the storm surge was well over 10 feet in some places. And you saw probably online, and it happened, that there was places that the water was getting to the second story of the house. The leaders of the government in the Bahamas were telling people to cut holes from their attic through the roof to get on top to be rescued when there was no more room in their house to go up anymore. So a very devastating situation, and very sad with all the flooding that went on in the Bahamas. And we're only starting to see the damage. And there is a significant portion of the structures in the Grand Bahama Island and also the Abaca Island that buildings are just now gone. You think about what a tornado can do, and it moves through in a couple of minutes. Well, some of the winds with this, just outside the eye wall on those islands, it was like a tornado that lasted for an hour. So it was very devastating. Let's go ahead now and take a look at another image, and this is from another NASA satellite. And not only can it scan hurricanes now from above, but it can put the images together. And if you notice on the right-hand side of the screen how you have the 3D structure of the storm. And you may sit there and go, yeah, that's a good eye candy. How does that help us out? Well, it helps us out in understanding the storms more, which then helps us out in understanding how they move, how strong they get, and the dynamics of it, so that we can help better protect people in the future. So the technology with it, that's cool. Now, other things about Durian, on the National Hurricane Center site, they do have this new experimental graphic, and you see the disclaimer at the top of the image there. And what it does is it shows inundation. Given what the expected storm surge is, how far the water will go, how high the water will go, and how far inland will extend. Now, keep in mind with a storm surge, that's a rise in the ocean. The waves are still on top of that. And you can see some places near Charleston, and in parts of South Carolina, that are going to have storm surges, probably double digit in feet. So this is a big issue, and that's why for coastal South Carolina all the way to Myrtle Beach and beyond, they have evacuated right at the coast because the ocean's going to rise up. And you may sit there and go, some people are against evacuations. Remember, it's not just the people who sit there and go, I've been through it before, I'm going to go through it again. What happens is every storm's different. And when things go wrong, you're not just putting your life at risk. you're putting the lives of the first responders at risk. So keep that in mind. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at one last image with Durian. And I wanted to show you how they put in effect the evacuation routes, and this is off of Google Maps, and one thing you notice is very little traffic right along the coastline, but then you see all those high interstates heading to the coast closed. They actually turn the interstates the other way around to allow people to leave better. So it's an interesting scenario down there. All right, that was our bad news, Durian. Let's go ahead and talk about something that's cool. And once in a while, I'll give you some apps that I find that are really cool and I use personally. And this is an app that you can get both on Google Play and also on the App Store for Apple. And it's called AllTrails. I am an avid outdoors person. I love going hiking. And AllTrails is an app, and it's free. Now, there are some purchased additions, but it will sit there and see where you are and tell you where hiking trails are close. When I was in Colorado, we were using this to help understand where there were trails and we wanted to go hiking, and it would tell you not only the trails, but the difficulty of the trails, and it can record and tell your statistics. So our next graphic shows you that some of the hikes that I was on, most of these were out in Colorado. I've been a little busy when I've been at home, and it keeps track and records where I hiked. So when I go back to Colorado, did I do the same route? How did I do? And how high did I go? And so forth, and gives you the statistics. In fact, it keeps a record. Now, I don't record all my hikes on here, but my statistics are on the next graphic, and you can see the elevation gain, the average speed, and how far you've hiked with the AllTrail app. So this is really cool in finding hiking trails and also keeping track of how much you hiked over a period of time. So I decided I would show you a little closer in, and I was sitting here at our station at Altoona, and I had it open, and it showed, the next graphic will show you, I had the Chimney Rocks and trail. And so what you see on that trail is a whole bunch of information that helps you decide whether you should go or not. So you have a description of the trail. It tells you the difficulty of the trail. And then it'll tell you things like, is it pet friendly? Is it difficult? Is it easy? Is it wheelchair accessible? There are all these different pieces of information. This is just great if you ever want to go out for a walk in nature. This to me is a must-have app, and I give this out of 5 stars. I give this one a 5 stars. And on the last graphic, it'll even give you a chart of where it is on a map, how the trail runs. Is it a one-way? Is it a loop? That's the Chimney Rocks loop. And the difficulty and the elevation climb you see there. So, on that, you're going to climb up and then you're going to go back down. So that is really cool. Again, you can find it at your app store on your phone. It is great to have, doesn't take a lot of memory, and it's just really nice and really cool to keep track of where you are out in nature. And I have a couple of other cool apps I'm going to show you about nature also coming up in future episodes. All right, it was a quick one for today. We'll have an update on Durian on the news, but for That's Cool, you guys stay cool.